Ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm about to say. Another Tuesday, another pod. Jackson Stew.
In the stew.
In the stew. Gonna have a good pod today. We got Casey Bennett joining us for an action-packed episode breaking down the Gators versus D-backs sweep. Wild series, wild moments. Some that I'm sure Gators fans would like to forget as quickly as they can. But some good moments for the D-backs and for Bennett. So fun one to talk about for sure. Some additional fun stories late in this pod as well.
Yeah, this is a good pod.
It's a good pod, I think.
Yeah, good banter.
Good banter for sure. Bennett's in the house. Going to be a good one. This is the Pipe It Up podcast. Cue the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pipe It Up podcast, the official podcast of MLW Wiffle Ball. Jack, welcome back to the stew, my man. It's
back
been
in
too
the
long.
stew.
It's been too long.
It feels like ages, man.
We had to rep the Lions today. It was a roller coaster of emotions day for the Lions fans.
Yeah, I don't even remember what time it was. ESPN notification pops up on my phone. CJ Gardner-Johnson getting helped off the field.
Just a kick to the groin, man.
After whenever it says non-contact,
it's bad.
It's typically bad. Only to come to find out hours later that the MRI was negative for anything bad, at least. So I think he'll be fine. But
we hope.
That was just so typical Lions off the bat. Like we would have our safety that we went out in free agency just get injured right away.
And he's on a 1-year deal too, so it's like he's never going to play.
Yeah,
we're never going to see him play.
That's it. Yep, that's millions of dollars.
But yes, that is our Lions aside for the day. NFL season low key coming up. It's pretty exciting.
Football's back.
Month and a half.
It's officially back.
It really is back.
I'm pumped. I've been watching the quarterback series on Netflix with my wife.
Out.
She's all of a sudden a big Kirk Cousins fan now because of the show.
A man of God.
He really
Spartan.
is just a great guy.
Yeah.
It sucks that he plays for the Vikings.
It does.
It really does because I want to love him. I do
love
really
him when he's
like
not
him.
playing the Lions.
Yes. I will root for him when he's not playing the Lions. Exactly.
I actually met him way back in the day at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And, I have his book. He wrote a book when he's on the Skins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have that book somewhere in this house. But aside from the NFL, we got a special guest in the building today, Casey Bennett, making his first ever Pipe It Up podcast appearance in person. First appearance ever or no?
No. I think I was on it back in the spring.
This year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I do recall. We talked about your home run and your first career being all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But good to have you in the studio. You made the drive all the way from Illinois for today, which sounds like a lot, but he was coming back anyway, right?
Back to the mitten.
So you moved to Michigan for the summer. People might not know that, but Bennett is from Illinois, a town called Normal, Illinois, which is hilarious. So we left Normal, came back to Michigan. Why'd you choose to move to Michigan this summer?
Well, I was kind of given an ultimatum at the beginning of the season from my parents because they didn't want me to take like our old cars to and from Illinois to Michigan to play in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of also saw an opportunity, I think we'll get into later, to help a career that I want to pursue in sports journalism. So I just decided to move up here so I could stay in the league and then, of course, help myself with sports journalism in the future.
How's it been?
It's been great up here.
That was an all-timer right there.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was
having
one
a blast?
for the record book.
Sorry, Bennett. I just ruined your little statement there by my voice cracking like a 12-year-old. But
it's been good. I mean, I got a lot of good friends up here. I've become closer with a lot of my teammates and a lot of different guys in the league. So it's been a pretty stressless move.
Would you say it has improved your wiffle ball game?
I would say it has a lot. I'm going for that most improved, Tom.
Ooh,
Alfred
coming
Blood
right out
most
the
improved.
gates. Certainly a worthy candidate.
I'd say so.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have some competition on your own team.
My own team. I hope Trey wins it over me, but I'm still coming for it.
Classy.
It's always good when you got two candidates on your team for most improved. That means you did something right in the offseason.
The record reflects it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not often that you can just have your teammates just pick up and move.
Yeah, both sophomores too.
So, yeah. Very cool.
Flood and Bennett, the young gun and the old. Actually, Bennett, you're young. We forget how young you are because you're only going to be, a junior in college next year?
Correct.
God.
How long have you been playing wiffle ball for?
Well, I mean, I've said it before. I think I started watching you guys back in 2017, and then just from there, I went to my first MLW tournament. I think it was a Midwest Slugfest back in 2020. So just in the backyard over my childhood, just playing all kinds of like baseball related sports, and wiffle ball, no exception.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been bred in him. over the years. He didn't know it would lead into this, but he was preparing all along, it sounds like.
I mean, you definitely seem prepared. Talk about, being a candidate for most improved. You had a couple exceptional home runs this year, including the grand slam there in game one. Just walk us through, that at bat, what you were thinking, what you felt when you hit that home run.
Jorgie's a tough at bat. I was seeing him pretty well that day. Luckily, he was a little wild against me, but he's one of the nastier pitchers in the league. A lot of his pitches got a lot of movement. So I believe I had 2 strikes on that grand slam at bat, and I want to credit right now my manager Jimmy Knorp. I think he's the best manager in the league. There's no manager in this league that's going to give you a scouting report for every series. He's going to talk you up and keep you confident in the box. He's going to hold you to a high standard and hold you accountable for everything you do. I think he's the best manager in the league, and that's kind of I think that's been a big part of my own success, just making sure that we're all prepared for every series. So his little scouting reports sometimes help with pitcher tendencies, and so let's just say I might have had a little tip on what Jorgie was thinking to throw me in those at-bats. So
how much did he pay you to say that?
Yeah. How bold of you to come into my house, me and Jack,
two managers,
and just say Jim's the best manager.
We got another one upstairs too. I hope that he can't hear.
Are you giving your players scouting reports?
I do. I don't know.
I don't know how good they are. I'm trying to give them some scouting reports.
Once again, I can't speak on behalf of Jimmy and what he does, but we do. We are vocal in the group chat days prior to the series, going over pitcher tendencies, sending clips. You'd be surprised. We're pretty active in there.
That probably sounded like more of a shot than it was supposed to.
No, I was joking around with you, Ben. I looked at Jack right away like, what do we, shop liver? But no, Knorp's a great manager.
We know that. Yeah.
She's shown it over the last couple of years. He's definitely earned his stripes as one of the top managers in the league. And I actually wanted to kind of ask you specifically about that. Like, can you give us any more insight as to like what Jimmy does to help you during the series? I guess before too, but is there anything specific that you want to share about Knorp mid-series management?
I can take us back to the Eagles series to kind of just give a little description of how high of a standard Jimmy holds us all to. We were kind of messing around when we were up like double digits against the Eagles at
Jordan.
What was that field called?
Harwell Field.
Harwell Field, yeah. And I mean, I guess me specifically, I just kind of didn't get locked in, and he was getting on me during the game and like after the series. Like, you got to stay locked in. You want good at bats. It'll help later in the season. So I guess that just goes more to show how good of a manager he is and how much he expects out of all of us.
Cool. All right. The reason I asked is because there was a comment in this week's video saying how, mentioning how disciplined all the D-backs are at the plate consistently. So I wanted to know just kind of what he's saying to you guys in series. Yeah. And it's interesting to hear how he's still on you guys even during a blowout, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, he'll like tell us to like be patient at the plate, swing at strikes. And I guess we've been really successful at that. We
look at balls.
That's pretty good.
Swing at strikes.
God, Knorp really is the best manager in the league.
Where's this guy come up with this stuff?
Poor Ben.
I'm sorry,
this is actually a perfect segue to the next.
Bennett.
This is the perfect segue, Bennett. I don't want to. Did you have more you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say, like, I think we've been doing a really good job at getting on base, and a lot of that has to do. I don't want to like hold Jimmy up on too much of a pedestal, but he is really good at getting us all in the best mindset in those at bats.
Jim's earned everybody credit that he's been given in terms of his personality, just how nice of a guy he is, how great of a player he is, just the way he carries himself on the field. I mean, there's a reason why he's the most popular player in our league and arguably the sport of wiffle ball.
Yeah.
But as you guys can see, this is a good segue. I have a tendency to clown Bennett often. I don't know why, but me and Bennett are always joking around. I'm probably pretty harsh on him, but it's all love Bennett, as you know. It used to be Daniel Schultz, who was always my target, and now I found a new target in Bennett that I always just kind of grill at the field, and he's kind of the butt of my joke, unfortunately. Hopefully he doesn't take it personally. I don't think he does. He came today, so you couldn't have taken it that personally.
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit. I cooked him dinner today. So
I like joshing around with Bennett just because I think he's like, he can take it. He
Bennett
dishes it, but he dishes it out too. A little bit behind the scenes. He dishes it out.
Sly guy who can dish out a little bit of beef every now and then.
That's right.
But so when you hit that grand slam, if you guys watch the video back, you'll hear Knorp as Bennett's rounding the bases. Knorp's like, "Where's Tom? Where's Tom?" Because before the series, just messing with Bennett, I was like, Knorp, you're really going to bench Shima and play Bennett in this first game? Like, what are you thinking, bro? So I'm joking around with him, and I'm like, Bennett can hear this, of course, and Bennett's just smiling at me and shaking his head. And then Bennett goes yard, and the first thing you hear from Jim's, "Where's Tom? Where's Tom?" And it wasn't in the video, but after that at bat, I think Knorp was behind you in the lineup, right? Or was he right behind you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Jimmy, I was busy filming while he was saying that, and I could hear him saying it, but I couldn't, like, acknowledge it. And then when Jimmy stepped up to the plate, the next at bat, I, like, tipped my cap, and I was waving my hat to him, and he started laughing. That's why he's the best manager right there. I was clowning him for starting Bennett, and Bennett hits a grand slam.
He was one step ahead of you.
He really was one step ahead of me, but that was funny. And then later in the video, which I was surprised Kyle kept this in, but it was funny. Bennett strikes out. Were you swinging or looking there?
I swung.
Swing and miss on Bennett, and I'm in center field with the camera, and I just go, "See you, Bennett."
See you, Bennett. That was so funny. That was gold.
Oh, poor Bennett. I feel bad now, but it's all in good fun. I love this guy. Come on.
It is.
It's all in good fun.
To pump you up a little bit here, Ben, it seems like every time you connect with the ball this year, it's going over the fence. Building on that talk about just like your guys' approach at the plate as a team, is that something that you're thinking about? Like when you go is like, I'm trying to hit a home run.
Well, it's honestly how I explain it is just, I guess it's kind of my swing. If I make contact with the ball the right way, the way my swing and like launch angle is, I feel like it's probably going to go out.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of proof that. I mean, I don't even know how many hits I have in this league, but probably half of them have been home runs.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it'd probably just have to do with my swing path. And also I was talking up Jimmy a lot, but I'll give myself a little credit. We've been working a lot since I've got up to Michigan. Like we'll go out and play some wiffle ball. We'll go practice a little bit, and those reps really help. I've got a much more confident approach at the plate, trusting my eye, just picking up the movement on pitches a lot better. So I guess it's showing on the stat sheet, and I'm proud of myself.
You should be. Absolutely, you should be. Those dingers are earned. No one sees that, Not people that are close followers and listen to this podcast, will hear about that, but 90% of the people who watch that video and see you go yard aren't going to know about that. So
I need some of the dingers in this area of the stew to
slide over
to this
little
area.
St. Louis magic for Jack coming into this
slide
weekend.
over to this area of the
Try
stew.
to pass along some of that magic. But impressive power numbers from Bennett. Let me pop up right now on the screen the OPS rankings in this league. What'd you say you were top 4?
I checked the OPS. They're like the stats after I got done watching the series, and I saw OPS, and I was right up there with Grant, Jordan, and Pearson. I think we were the top 4, and I think you were 5th, Tom.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
Good crowd.
That's
right,
good.
Right
that's
behind
good company.
Bennett.
That is good
right
company.
Where I belong, behind Bennett, of course.
Where was Flynn? Where was Flynn on that list? He was a big OPS guy.
He was. I think he sunk a bit. He sunk a bit after that Eagles series, unfortunately.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, but Bennett, congrats on the series win and series sweep. Don't want to do it. It pains me to do it, as I like the Gators guys as well, but we got to get into game 2, fellas.
Yeah.
Man, what an absolute heartbreaker. Just a heart in your throat moment that even me, who I had no reason to really root for the Gators there besides trying to catch the D-backs in the standings, but just a sucky way to end a game. I don't know how else to say that. I felt for Chris bad, man. Real bad.
It's one of those things I feel like where you watch it, like you're watching the video and most viewers are probably like, man, like what was he thinking? Or like, what was he doing? But then when you put yourself in that moment, like I don't know. It's always like hindsight's 20/20. And when you're watching from like a wider lens, it seems like sometimes decisions are easier to make like in the moment. But like you said, like I feel for Chris. He was just trying to make a play.
Exactly.
And like the outcome, the result wasn't what he wanted, but you can say what you want about the decision. I think you could argue it either way.
No, I've been there. I have to think way back. We're going on 10 years now, which is crazy, but I still to this day remember in a JV baseball game one time. It was the top half of the last inning, not the bottom half, but still, I made a throwing error that essentially ended up costing us the game. And man, those sting. Those stick with you. And to see it end like that, where not only did the tying run score, but the winning run scored too. Gosh, you just had to, in a game they like didn't need to win, but needed to win.
I mean, you could
it just
tell
was so tough.
You could tell obviously the anguish after right after that moment, but also just it kind of boiled over into game 3 with Jorgensen hucking bats, and you could just tell all their body language, like they were frustrated, and rightfully so. Like the magic had been there too, so we know that feeling too, and like you said, you hate to see it. You love to see like good competition, like all around.
part of the game.
Kind of is what it is. I mean, credit to the Diamondbacks. Like it was mentioned a couple times in the video. Definitely one of, if not the deepest team in the league. I mean, it's like as soon as you forget about like a guy like Michael Shima, he just hits a home run. And they got support from literally everyone on their team that showed up to the Meadows that day.
They did. They really did.
And you know, I think they definitely earned that sweep. But Gators, if they didn't already, certainly have their backs against the wall now.
They do. They do. Pretty much looking at a must-win series for them going against the Eagles in Slate 4. That's not in stone yet. They're still within striking distance of both the Eagles and the Mallards. So like it's not all down and out for them, but I mean it's starting to get to the point where you got to start winning some games if you want to make the playoffs. You know what I mean? 2-7 is not gonna cut it. The D-backs were 2-7 last year, won the World Series, so it's definitely not over for them. But yeah, I think the All-Star break is going to be good for this team as they need a bit of a mental reset.
Yeah,
specifically after Game 2, which boiled into Game 3 and losing, but. Man, just how quickly the tides of a season can change. You know, you never know what if they do win that game, a big game against the D-backs, that would have put their record at 3-5 going into the last game. Could win that one and have a throughway tie. In the standings in the NL going into the All-Star break. So just a massive momentum shift. And like I said, it's unfortunate. I like guys in the D-backs, I like guys in the Gators, but you know, Chris goes out there on the mound and he's one you can just see grinding. He was out there, he's sweating, he's putting his everything into every pitch. And props to him for taking the mound still in Game 3 and honestly pitched a decent game. I thought his stuff was actually pretty good all day, to be honest.
You know, Chris is normally, I feel like Chris is normally really consistent with his arm slots and you know, where he likes to locate his pitches. But I started to see him mix in some more sort of like underhand and like sidearm throws where normally he's a lot more over the top. I don't know if you could, you know, attest to that too, Bennett, but I felt like watching the video, he was mixing it up a little bit more.
Yeah, I actually noticed that too because normally what we see from him is like, you know, his little slider, his little screw drop and super curve. I think he was mixing in a little slide drop in there too, which was kind of throwing us off a little bit. I don't think
it was a pretty good slide drop too.
Yeah,
That's a good movement.
There's a pitch to Mike in that game that I think struck him out. It was a good one, caught the inside corner. I mean, I don't think Chris was pitching bad at all. It kind of sucks what went down in the third inning, and it's kind of just been an omen for their season.
And like you said, guys just trying to make a play. You could say whatever you want, but when the adrenaline's going in that moment, you're just trying to make a play.
You want to be a playmaker.
It's probably one of the worst things about baseball is there is those individualistic moments compared to other sports where like a guy's got to step up and make a play.
Yeah.
And sometimes the plays aren't made, and that's just how it goes. It's part of baseball, wiffle ball. Like I said, I dealt with that growing up playing baseball. I've had teammates deal with that, and it's never something that's fun to be a part of. It's never fun to watch. So, Chris, I feel for you, buddy. Stay strong.
I think that's
Gator Nation. Prop up your boy Chris. Don't be too hard on him.
I think that's honestly one of the, you know, you saying that. I feel like it's one of the coolest things about baseball and wiffle ball is that it is a team sport, but ultimately the outcome a lot of the times is affected by like individual performances.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a good thing and a bad thing.
It is. It's like you know, the pitcher's out there alone. You're up at bat, you know, solo. It's like you either caught the ball or you didn't. You know, you either threw it home or you didn't. So there's a lot of like individual aspects to the game, which I think makes it really versatile and cool. But
and of course, all sports have the individual aspects, right? A team is made up of individuals.
Yeah,
it's just more obviously seen in baseball, I think, compared to other sports.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it's more evident. It becomes more apparent. But I wanted to ask Bennett. So, you know, conversely, the Gators here got their backs against the wall, like the Diamondbacks were last year. Came all the way back, won the World Series. Now you guys are sitting at 8-1. You know, some people might say you guys are getting hot at the wrong time for what's been, you know, the secret to success for the Diamondbacks in past seasons. You guys are getting hot a little bit too early. What would you say to those people?
Those haters,
those guys.
I would say to those guys that's just an absolutely ridiculous statement. I mean, you got to be hot. You got to win games. We want to win the division. We don't want to have to play in the NLDS. I mean, I think we clinched our spot in the postseason.
You did, yes.
So at this point, we just want to keep winning games and try to get into the NLCS without any problems at all, just so we have one step to get back to the World Series and win it again.
clearly joking there, but if there were betting odds or whatever, just the odds of the Diamondbacks winning their division or even the World Series was probably the favorite, going into the year, to three-peat. And I would love to see how those odds would move if they were to actually like win the division in the regular season, because not having to play that first series is just like such a big difference to get to that World Series.
In 2021, you guys won the division before your days in the league, but I think you guys clinched it in Slate 4 there in 2021. It was the Curdy series, the infamous Curdy home run series, when you clinched it in Game 3. And they will have a chance to clinch it again in Slate 4 with, I believe, 2 wins against the Mallards is what it's going to take. I think that's the number. They got to win the series against the Mallards, and that will clinch them the 1 seed in Slate 4. So best of luck to you, Bennett. We're gunning for you. But overall, the Gators as a whole, Jack, what are your thoughts? I'll share mine, but how do you assess this franchise right now? 9 games in, sitting at 2-7.
Yeah, it's really an interesting spot, because with our trade, moving Chadwick to the Gators, they don't have a ton of like draft capital, which is very interesting for a team that, right now is at the bottom of their division. That being said, it's still the same core guys that won a World Series. What was it, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it's like wiffle ball is like football, like a lot of sports, is kind of just like a game of inches, and things can, snowball one way or positively or negatively. And I think just for the Gators, it's kind of just been a similar season to like the Magic had last year, where it's just kind of all the stuff's going wrong at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So,
oh my
wow.
God.
that was brutal.
I'm embarrassed to leave that one, but I have to.
That one's getting left in. But
oh my gosh.
I don't know. Like if I'm Zerlag, I guess I would probably maybe consider trying to make some moves, some adjustments. But at the same time, if he kind of said like, I'm good with my guys and I'm confident in them, rolling into next season, or to finish this season out and see what they can do, and try to make the playoffs, like I could see that being a valid, I would back him on that too. If that makes sense.
Bennett, you have a question?
He raising his hand.
I was just going to say, as you were talking about the Gators winning the World Series a few years ago, I think it's just crazy how like improved this league gets year after year, because honestly, I think this Gators team is better than they were when they won the World Series, and they probably would have won it with this team back then.
Probably.
So I just think year after year, it's just crazy how we get so much better.
That's a good point.
Very good point. I will say, if I had to be critical right now, I think a couple things that are hurting this team is, so number one, like you said, that trade for Chadwick. I didn't hate getting Chadwick. It's good for their team, the Chemi.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that last year they were kind of just fighting to get into the playoffs. And you don't usually see teams like make moves and become buyers in this league when like your backs are kind of against the wall. If that makes sense. Because then they ended up making that trade and giving up future draft stock, but still missed the postseason, which was interesting. You never want to be at the bottom and then have no picks.
Right.
You know what I mean? On top of that, on the defensive side and on the pitching side, I think they've got to find a way to throw more strikes. I believe Jorgensen had 9 walks in that first game. Other than that, pitched good. His command's been pretty good on his stuff in terms of like when he is throwing strikes, the movement is there. And hitters aren't really squaring it up. Yes, you hit a grand slam, but solo shots in this league aren't going to kill you. The grand slams are, and those runners are on base because of walks most of the time. I think, like I said, 9 walks in that first game. Cheetam also a little bit wild. Walks hurt him big time. So those two got to find a way to throw more strikes.
Yeah.
On the offensive end, Zerlag was a guy who was, I think he was in the running for most improved in one of the past few years. I don't know if he won it or not, but he seems to be just kind of throwing away at bats right now. And Chadwick is battling, but not getting the results. There was a hilarious, one of my favorite moments of the whole entire season.
Sick at bat.
That was so funny. Chadwick goes down on 3 pitches and then just sweet at bat.
Yeah.
And Kyle runs through it, just drop ball, drop ball, drop ball. Chadwick just...
It was all dirty drop balls.
If you know Jason, like his sense of humor, it was just so funny. The straight face, just like sweet at bat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I chuckled at that too. But you bring up a good point, Tom. With Jorgensen having some. I mean, I don't, like you said, like I don't think his command has been like that bad, but he has been walking some people, like more than I know he would like, and more than is probably is probably what the Gators want as a team. That being said, they did make that trade for Chadwick, who on the Magic was a frequent pitcher.
Yeah.
He was pitching at least one game a series for us, if not two at times. So, I would like to maybe see Zerlag kind of get a little bit more creative with those three pitchers in terms of like how he rotates them either throughout a series or maybe even throughout a single game.
It's a good point.
Because that could be something that could just keep the opposing hitters a little bit more off balance. And yeah, I agree with your statement about Zerlag. He was, you'd think with these new rules, a team like the Gators, with how Zerlag had batted the past couple seasons, like he would be a great 4-spot guy for them. And it just hasn't been there for whatever reason for him. So I think if he can turn that around and maybe they can get a little bit more creative in their bullpen management, anything's possible.
Bennett, how did you guys dig deep last year when you were sitting at 2-7 and you took on the Eagles and got a big series win? What did you guys do? What was that like for you guys?
Well, unfortunately, this is kind of a running joke on our team. The first regular season series win that I was at was this year against the Preds because I wasn't able to make the Eagles series last year. But honestly, what just got us going is Jonah hitting that walk-off home run last year, and I think a lot of people forget how good Jonah really is until he turns it on in the second half. Like you see people in the league Discord or in our comments just talking down to Jonah, and then he just goes out and proves them wrong every year. So it's like, when will they learn? So I guess my answer to your question is that Jonah's kind of a spark plug in the second half for us and got us going.
All it takes is one big swing.
Hey,
one swing can change the world.
That's right.
I mean, the D-backs season was literally upended at that point, back on track, magically down to the last strike. So that was cool to see for sure. But any final comments from you guys on this series? I don't want to dwell on the negatives too much for the Gators. Like I said, it was tough. Gator Nation, I feel for you. Hang in there. But that Game 2 one was as gut-wrenching as it gets in terms of MLW losses.
Yeah, I mean, that was just the life was just
gosh,
that sucked.
I didn't even want to watch the video back. I didn't want to see it again. I didn't want to have to relive it. I feel bad for Chris if he had to watch that again.
Oh, yeah.
Man, tough all the way around. But let's get into this week's comment of the week. Long one. This series had it all. Controversial second game, Chadwick being super salty, some big bombs, and an error by Jimmy Knorp. What? Great job again to Kyle and Tommy on commentary. But let's give some credit to Mr. Schultz. He is at every game keeping score. This man is a great father supporting his sons and the players of this league. I don't know if Jimmy made an error or not, but I wanted to give the nod to Mr. Schultz in this week's comment of the week.
Gotta love Mr. Schultz.
Well deserved. I wish. I mean, we're like a broken record, I think, giving him credit, and we're not still broken enough. Not broken enough because he deserves all the credit. Been the A1 number one stat keeper for us. He's there every single series, always supporting. Can't say enough about Mr. Schultz.
You really can't. I could go on for hours.
Yeah.
We're going to get to hear his voice here soon at the All-Star game. Did he have to call the All-Star game?
Oh, I think he did. Or was it Dan? I think it was... Who was it? I should know this.
I wasn't there for the All-Star game. I came for the Derby. I
don't even know who it was, to be honest. I forget.
It could have been Dan.
It might have been Dan.
Might be treated to a Mr. Schultz game soon.
Maybe. I honestly, guys, don't even remember. I definitely should know that, but I don't remember what decision was finally made. But yeah, that game is coming up. Up next on the channel is the Home Run Derby this Friday, and then the All-Star game the following Friday, and then we're getting into Slate 4. So a lot still to happen. But while Casey's here, Casey, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Patreon, the MLW Patreon, of course, that Jimmy Knorp has sort of taken the reins of within the past year or so, and now you are joining him in some sort of expedition of your own. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah. So as I talked about in the beginning of the episode, going into sports journalism, I saw an opportunity. I always knew, just being friends with Jimmy, that he struggled a little bit with the Patreon at times, just finding ideas for content. So I kind of reached out to him, and I'm like, I kind of want to come up there this summer and maybe do some interviews with the players of our league, because I think that'd probably be in demand for a lot of our bigger fans in the league, like want to know more about Jack, who I actually just did an interview with. It should be on the Patreon here shortly. I've done Nick and Jimmy, want to do bunch of other people before I have to leave for the summer, but it's just been cool. And it's also cool for me because these are people that I've seen like play wiffle ball on YouTube, and just to get to know them more is just cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
So to give,
and it's coming from my job. It sounds like.
Seriously, to give the fans. He doesn't have nearly as many voice cracks, Tom, either. So.
Well, I know. I'm not cut out for this industry, guys. Somehow I ended up in this chair. I don't know how. I didn't start this podcast. I kind of had to save a sinking ship 2 years ago now. And now you're stuck with my cracking voice.
I climbed aboard.
He did. Jack helped me row.
So just to give the fans like a little bit more insight, what interests you about sports journalism in general? And, if you're willing, like what's like your ultimate goal, or what would be kind of like your dream going down that path?
What's the dream job?
Yeah.
My ultimate goal, pipe dream, is to end up in a broadcast booth at Wrigley Field.
Nice.
Or just, any professional baseball, but big Cub fan, so Wrigley Field would be sweet. Just kind of growing up and listening to like Pat Hughes, he's the Cubs radio guy, just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Just listening to his calls like at Cubs games every day growing up, it was just, I kind of fell in love with, first of all, baseball, and then like announcers' calls of like big moments. Mm-hmm. And I've always been told my whole life that I have a good voice for like radio or like broadcasting, so it's just kind of been a
Agreed.
I'd agree. Better than mine for sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't crack like a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you. Always kind of wanted to know this. From a journalist, maybe it's personal preference, but what's like more desirable, that radio play-by-play or the TV play-by-play?
It's kind of different. A lot of people might not think about this, but with the radio thing, you kind of have to paint more of a picture for the audience because they can't see it visually. So like you'll hear like radio announcers talking about where the wind's blowing.
Well, no, the guys on TV, a lot of times they're just like showing fans in the crowd. And there was a funny skit on this on Twitter, but it's like, enjoy that ice cream, young man. And just saying garbage about nothing essentially. Whereas, the guys on the radio are like, Verlander takes a deep breath before towing the rubber. He's looking, all that kind of stuff.
The people on the radio are definitely more like artists trying to like paint a picture for the audience. When like the TV guys, the TV broadcast, you can kind of see what's going on, and they're more commenting on what everyone's seeing.
Yeah, it is different. It definitely is different.
I think what's cool about the TV guys is because the general environment of like a baseball game, it's not like super intense all the time. It's kind of like more laid back. It's more of like an experience. You can kind of just like hang out, and then every once in a while you hear the crack of the bat, and it's like, oh, that was a bomb. So I think what's cool
depends
about
on which
like,
city you're in, how good your team is.
Right, exactly. But what's cool about the TV broadcast, and like Casey, you talking about, I think it was the radio guy, but just how, like listening to him, you kind of like get to know, you almost feel like those people, like those broadcasters, because it's like you're just hanging out with them, kind of, you know what I mean? Especially those TV guys where you're watching it, so they're not like painting the picture as much. It's more just sort of like commentary along with the game, and saying things when they need to, but it's more just generally sort of like hanging out, kind of.
Yeah. It's also kind of cool, like going back as I've grown up and probably still do at times in my life now, like going and seeing like the greatest sports moments of the 2010s and just all the iconic calls.
Oh, I know.
It'd be so cool to just have my own call in that kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally.
Iconic calls are definitely cool. I enjoy that aspect of it a lot. That like can make or break a moment, to be honest.
Yeah,
it really can. But Bennett, to give the fans this is the surprise I was talking to you about. To give the fans a taste of what goes down on Patreon. How about you interview me with a couple questions? Just maybe one or two.
I've always thought about doing you and Kyle, but I feel like you guys' lives are more out there than other players. But
I don't know, Bennett. People
maybe not you as much.
Tom is a shady cat.
Yeah, I don't want to just feel like I'm stealing your job, Tom.
Oh no, you're not.
My interviews are more just about like the person themselves outside of wiffle ball. Okay. But I guess I'll just try to throw you some of the questions that I've thrown.
Throw me a softball so I can
ask them about turf management.
Yeah.
All right. So Tom, can you tell me what it was like growing up for you? What your family was like, your interests and hobbies growing up?
Oh man. So my family, I'm a Coughlin, obviously. And on my dad's side of the family, he's the one who gave me the Coughlin name, of course. There is 10 grandkids, and I am the only boy. So there is, I can name them right now. There's Riley, Kendall, Rachel.
So you went and saw
Lauren.
Barbie this past weekend.
If I was younger, I 100% would have.
Oppenheimer.
Yes. Riley, Kendall, Rachel, Lauren, Katie, Courtney, Taylor, Paige, Justine, and then Tommy. So there's nine girls, one boy. So I am the
Tommy
only
Lynn.
only grandson, and I had two sisters, so I was definitely like the Schultz brothers really were like my brothers growing up. I was always over at Kyle's house doing whatever sports related stuff because I wasn't really into the same stuff as my sisters, of course. And I'd say I got more of my sports gene like from my mom. She's a bigger sports fan than I am. She loves sports. She loves her Spartan football and basketball and Tigers baseball. So yeah, that was interesting for sure because I spent a lot of time with the Schultz brothers and the Schultz family, still do. And I feel like I was the middle child too, and they would say the middle child kind of does his own thing and is independent, but I felt like that especially applied to me because I had two sisters who like didn't have a lot of similar interests as me. So by the time we were like a little bit grown up, I was kind of just like doing my own thing.
I gotcha.
I was long-winded. Jeez.
Those are the answers I like.
Yeah.
That's what the people want to hear.
One more.
My next question for you. So growing up, of course, you saw Kyle editing the videos and kind of growing this thing. How kind of involved were you with the come up of MLW? And like, at what point did you just kind of get more and more involved in like the business side of it? And at what point, I guess I'm asking, did you kind of take it more seriously along with Kyle?
I feel like I always took it pretty serious, to be honest. I guess that's
other than when you retired.
Yeah, well, let me get into that. that kind of just speaks to like how serious I do take things when I'm working at them. So when we first started going, yes, it was just for fun. But then like as we started to get more into it, like we were always trying to make the best videos. And then yes, I retired, but that was solely to like focus on baseball. Like I'm not a person.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's all good. So that was when I was getting into high school, and I definitely think people can do both, but I was never really good at balancing both the wiffle ball and baseball thing. Like I can remember days playing wiffle ball all day out in the Schultz's front yard at Colts Field, and then going to baseball practice that night, and then like swinging and missing at the first 10 pitches of BP in practice because like I was used to the timing and the weight of the wiffle ball bat and that kind of thing, and then just being terrible at practice. There's also a game I remember where I was pitching in baseball, and I had a guy on first base. I was probably like 11, 12 years old. And I just like from pitching all day in wiffle ball, I just started to go from the wind up, and the guy stole second base because my brain was so used to just doing wind up, and never stretch. So wasn't really balancing those two things successfully, and I wanted to do my very best to give myself a good baseball career. So went all in on baseball for 3-4 years there. Came back to wiffle ball, and I feel like ever since I came back, we were pretty locked in, to be honest. Played that first season, and then that off season was moved to the Meadows, so that's when we were kind of all our eggs were in the basket. So I feel like from the jump I was pretty bought into this could be something if we play our cards right.
11-year-old Tom was making business decisions.
I'm a businessman. I was selling, I'm trying to think, 5th grade. How old are you in 5th grade? Or maybe it was 6th or 7th grade. 12, 11. I remember I made a pretty good amount of money selling duct tape wallets in school in like 7th grade.
Those were sick.
Yeah.
I might have bought one of those.
You probably did. Hopefully it still worked. My uncle's sister to this day still has a duct tape wallet that I made her. That's how long.
What would did you ever do? What was it called in like? Oh man, we did it in like probably 3rd or 4th grade, where it was basically
Mini Society.
Oh,
I killed it.
What did you sell? What did you do? All right, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this was basically like you pretty much. You set up in like the gymnasium, and you basically like it was like a market. Yeah, it was basically you could do it with like a group of people or yourself, but you essentially had to be a member of this marketplace, and you were given money in the beginning to go buy other things or kind of like barter or trade or like whatever you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. I have a great mini society story, Jack. So, and in hindsight, I think it was worth nothing, but it was cool at the time. But anyways, so what I did was I made bookmarks, and all I did was like I had a bunch of sports magazines, so I would like cut out these pictures of sports players and like glue them onto construction paper, and then like cut them out with like a fancy shaped scissor, like a zigzag scissor, a spiral scissor.
Nice.
You know how they have those scissors that are like fancy like that? My mom had a kit like that, so I used those, made construction paper bookmarks. But to also cater to the female audience, I would go through my sister's like. What were those stupid magazines that would like cover all of like the teen news, like Disney Channel and Nickelodeon stars? What were those called? Like
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so like those girly magazines that teenage girls would read. I cut up those too.
He knows.
Yeah, Bennett's into those.
He's still reading.
So I cut up those too, and those honestly might have sold better than the sports pictures.
Really?
Yeah, because all the girls wanted those. So I was selling.
Girls were reading more. There was more demand.
That's what I'm saying. So it was. The money was flowing in, sold out of the bookmarks, and then I took all the money I made from Mini Society. And some kid for his mini society was raffling off a Michael Jordan basketball card, put all my money into that, and won the Michael Jordan basketball
Wow.
card.
Nice.
So
Very
that was
cool.
my mini society story.
I think we did something like really basic. I wanna say that was we did that sort of like at the end of the year where it was kind of getting hot. I believe we just came with like slushies. Like we had like a cooler,
genius.
and it was, dude, we sold out like so fast.
Yeah.
Like I spent the majority of the time just spending my money that I made because we sold out in the first like couple hours. Like we had no more inventory.
Yeah.
There was nothing for us to sell.
Yeah.
We
Too
sold
much
out way
demand.
faster than we thought.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there was like 2 days of that. And yeah, the first day I sold out and the next day I made more. So I was okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Fun experiences, Bennett. I've always liked being an entrepreneur. That's for sure. From the duct tape wallets to the bookmarks to who knows what else I've done. Cut some lawns in my day, raked some leaves, whatever it takes to put some bread on the table for the family.
You've done a good job here, Tom.
It's doing my best, Bennett, doing my best. But going to have to wrap this one up, folks. Appreciate you all tuning in. A lot coming up in MLW. Here we go. 4 weekends in a row. You ready, Jack?
Yep.
St. Louis Series. Buy your tickets now. Wiffle in the Mitten. Still a week left to sign up. Mini MLB Series in Vermont. Free admission for all. And last but not least, the Long Island Whiffs tournament in Long Island, New York. So going to be a jam-packed month. Going to be a tough month. Going to put me to the test for sure.
Oh,
In
yeah.
terms of the workload. But I know hopefully we look back on this in September and smile. So be a fun time. Bennett, appreciate you coming on down to the old pod studio.
Of course.
Hope you enjoyed your time.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Oh, get your last comment in.
I just want to call out all of those fans who had us ranked at about 7th in the power rankings at the beginning of the year.
As Bennett once said, who's the poor man snakes now?
Who's the poor man snakes
That was
now?
bold. That was a bold comment there post game. Bennett was feeling good in the World Series, to tell you what. As he should. But
Bennett, who sat the bench the entire World Series.
still got a ring on his finger
That's all right,
in a
yeah.
more recent time period than I do. So
That's all right.
who should be laughing? Probably Bennett. But I'm going to keep giving Bennett a hard time at the field. Looking forward to playing him in a couple weeks here. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. My favorite fishing lure is the Gary Yamamoto 5-inch Senko. We'll catch you guys next week. We got to talk for like 10 more minutes. What should we say?
We didn't cover Game 3.
We didn't talk about Patreon.
Perfect 10-minute plug. We don't need to cover Game 3 too much. I mean, it was ugly.
The worst part is it didn't even feel like a sweep completely.